Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying your days off. The cup's finally over, so we should, I believe, keep getting into a normal schedule now. Hopefully, yeah, looks like we're fully back, so that's super exciting. Can we stop with like the small slates, big slates though? Just give us like 6 to 7 game slates, please. But yeah, good to be back. As always, for you guys that are new here, all these videos they get posted to this Reddit. I'll have it linked down below. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. Pretty important because stuff does change from this video. So I do make those updates, and then you can ask me questions leading up to lock about the slate. After lock, I will always be around here. And then if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on X here. And if you're into sports books, I post sportsbook plays on my Twitter account as well for free um, for you guys. Let me know if any of you have been tailing them too and how you guys have been doing. It's been pretty good. Um, so yeah, I'll have those links down below. And then if you're looking for more in-depth content where I give you guys player pools, extra sportsbook plays, I already posted a ton of sportsbook plays for tomorrow. Um, and then this is where I give you guys like cores and stuff like that, and then I give you guys private videos, and yeah, that'll be linked down below too. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into my lineups from the past couple days, and then we will we'll go over the massive slate. It's been a great couple days for me personally. I forget what was the last day went over. I think we'll just go over the showdown then the day prior. This was the day prior. Was a good day. Unfortunately, the Clippers game was a massive blowout, so I lost full fourth minutes from Norm Powell, James Harden. I was shocked at that Andre Drummond ownership. He was a core play for me. Paul George, I flag planted in GPPs for my Discord, so that worked out huge. Kobe White was a core play. And then I like Taylor Horton Tucker for value. Mogbo was core for me, but unfortunately he busted pretty hard. And yeah, my core was Kobe White, Flag Plant, Paul George, and GPPs. Andre Drummond, Mogbo, James Harden was my core for this slate, so I felt pretty good about that. Unowned Paul George, low owned James Harden. Yeah, I feel very good about how that went. Going over Showdown yesterday was pretty damn good. I liked the Bucks value at lower ownership over the chalk OKC value, and that worked out huge. I cored AJ Green. That worked out. As you can see, in most of my lineups, I played the Bucks value over that OKC value, and that worked out really well for me. If SGA just had a normal game, I probably win the tournament. As you can see, the winning lineup just basically played Dame over SGA straight up. So yeah, unfortunate SGA had that dud. If he had his normal game, I definitely would have won pretty much every contest I was in because I got all the values right. Gary Trent, AJ Green, and then this guy had Torian Prince. I believe Joe outscored Prince, so it was basically just yeah. They played Dame straight up over SGA. So that really sucks. If you told me Dame outscored SGA yesterday, I would have called you a bold-faced liar. But yeah, let's get into the 13-game slate. It's going to be a wild one. As always, I'll make updates on Reddit. I'm not going to go too into detail because then the video would just be 50 minutes long, and we're not trying to do that. Sip of water, the normal. Let's take a hit of the vape, and then we'll get right into it. All right. Charlotte, Washington. Good game environment here. Great matchups for both sides. Brandon Miller is questionable. We'll see if he plays. We'll go over both ways, though. If everyone's in, I mean, LaMelo Ball, they said they were going to ramp up his minutes. I don't know what his minutes limit is going to look like for tomorrow. I would imagine he's going to stay on a limit here. So if we get news that he's only going to play like 26 minutes again, you can't play him at this price point. You just can't. I mean, you could hope. You could play him and hope he goes for like 60 fantasy points in like 25 minutes. It could happen, but will be hard for me to get to him if he's still on a limit here. Now, if we get news that he is off his limits, then I love him at 9.9K in a great matchup. Brandon Miller's too pricey at 8.9K with LaMelo Ball back. I'd imagine some limit there. Miles Bridges is still on some type of limit, so Yeah, it's really hard to get to the top three guys if they are going to be on limits. I think my favorite, I think playing Miles Bridges at 6.2K still on like a limit of around 30 minutes is completely fine. I imagine he'll pick up some ownership tomorrow. I would like him a lot more if Brandon Miller is out, though. If Brandon Miller is in and Miles Bridges is picking up a ton of ownership just because it's Washington, then I think you make a really good argument just to fade that. So yeah, it's going to depend on limits. If we get everyone in and no limits, then yeah, I really like LaMelo, and I would really like Miles Bridges at that price point. If we get Miller out and no limits, then yeah, I absolutely love LaMelo. Then I absolutely love Miles Bridges. And then yeah, just keep an eye out. If we get limits, then I'm not playing anyone. I can't get to these values. I just can't do it, especially with Brandon Miller most likely coming. Cody Martin's overpriced, Nick Richards, Mark Williams. They're kind of splitting the center position. I'm not going to play Saloon. I just can't get to these values. Just no way. Moving on to Washington, I am fully expecting Brogdon, Corey Kispert, and Keyshawn George to all play here. They all went through practice on Tuesday, so I think they're going to be back here, which kind of muddies up the waters. But if we get everyone out in a good spot, then yeah, I like Jordan Poole. I still think Champagne's playable at 5.8K, but just not as good of a play as he once was. Still would project for like around 5X for me. Cool Bale at 5.7K, still fine, decent. If everyone's out, Bub, price right. Sorry if he starts with the 5, I think it's decent. Jared Butler will be playable, although the minutes were way down last game. That was a bit of a shock. They dusted off Johnny Davis, I believe. Just disgusting. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not too excited about this team regardless. And then if we get everyone in, I'm just not going to get to anyone. If we get, like, no limits for Brogdon and Kuzma, I would like both of them. Like, Kuzma at 6.6 is just too cheap. So, if we get, like, no limit for Kyle Kuzma in a great matchup going up against Charlotte, I mean, yeah, fire up some 6.6K Kuzma. And then Brogdon would be, those would be my two favorite plays, would be those guys, if no limits. But I would suspect that Brogdon at least will be on some type of limit there with the hamstring. Moving on to Utah, fine spot here going up against Detroit. I think Walker Kessler at 6.5K, I mean, they just want to play him a ton of minutes right now. 35 minutes a game, I would expect. Good point per minute guy, good shot blocker, matchup up against Jalen Duren, it's fine. No issue with that price point. I think Markkanen is just too cheap at 6.7K. He would be the first one to get pulled if they get blown out. I would not be shocked if Detroit blows out this Utah team. This Utah team is just so bad. Yeah, Markkanen probably my favorite play on Utah. I think the price point is just a little bit too cheap. And then Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, they'll kind of split the guard duties. I just prefer who's cheaper. I think Sexton's a good value. Same with like Clarkson. Just too cheap of price points there. Key's fine at 6.1K. And then, yeah, I'm not going to get to this value. Let's move on to Detroit. I mean, what was that? What was that? How on earth did Jaden Ivey get rolled out after lock? People played chalk Malik Beasley, and people played chalk Ausar minutes limit Thompson, and got absolutely rewarded. Now, if we get both out once again, and we get Isaiah Stewart out once again, I'm going to really like Ausar Thompson for value. They would just be a lot thinner. They would have to play him. He started, good point per minute guy, good rebounder. I wouldn't suspect this production again, but he would be a really good value. And then I would really like Malik Beasley. He would stand out as one of the best value plays on the board. Kate Cunningham, I absolutely love. Jalen Duren, I mean, listen, if you want to buy into the fact that he's back, I mean, go for it. I am not trusting it, but I'm perfectly fine with him. Tim Hardaway Jr., this guy's been so bad. And then Simone will get a bump if all these guys are out. If we get everyone in, then yeah, I still love Cade. I think he's one of my favorite spin-ups on the board. I'd really like Jaden Ivey. Great spot here for Tobias Harris. I'd have some interest in him in GPPs. Probably wouldn't get to like Beasley, Ausar, those type guys, etc., etc. Alrighty, let's move on to OKC. So, yeah, bad spot here for both teams. I think SGA is fine. I think J-Dub's fine. I think Hartenstein's fine. I think they're all pretty safe. They're not my favorite plays on the slate, but they're all fine plays. Hartenstein's been elite. J-Dub at 8.3 seems a bit too cheap. SGA is fine. I think there's other spin-ups I'd rather target. Just not the best matchup here going up against Orlando, but fine larger field plays for me. I'm not touching the value on a 13-game slate. You couldn't pay me to do it. Moving on to Orlando, tough spots here. I'm some interest in Suggs at 7.8K, but the matchups are really bad. Like I said, the good thing with him is minutes are going to be there. He's going to shoot a ton more. He has the ball in his hands a ton. That's the upside. Really bad spot here for Goga and Monacar Jr. OKC is really, really good at stopping points in the paint, etc. They also play a decent amount of drop coverage, so they're covering the roll man. Yeah, tough spot here for Goga Patate and Monacar Jr., where most of their points do come in the paint. Monacar Jr. can go out to the three-point line a little bit, but I think Monacar Jr. is probably my favorite if I were playing one. I do think he's a decent value at 4.9K. Some games they will extend Mo Wagner. Depends on game script, how he's playing, how the other centers are playing. Just a large field GPP dart. And yeah, I'm not going to play Anthony Black, Tristan De Silva, those type guys. So let's move right along to Chicago. Solely depends on Zach LaVine and Josh Giddey. It solely depends on them. If we get both of them out, I'm going to like a lot here. Vooch would have to do everything for this team. Bad matchup, but still will look good. I really like Kobe White at 6.8K. I'd really like Sumo at 6.4K. I think there's an off chance Lonzo Ball could start at 4.3K. He played more. I'd really like him for value. Patrick Williams would be decent for value. I would love Taylor Horton Tucker for value at 3.9K. So there'd be a ton to like here if both these guys are out. If we get both in, I think Vooch is just fine. I like LaVine at 7.5K. Giddey's minutes become a lot more in question with everyone healthy, so he'd just be a large field GPP dart for me. And still some interest in like Kobe White. Does seem a little bit too cheap. And then, yeah, if you want to take darts on like Alonzo, I think that's fine. But I probably wouldn't go to like Taylor Horton Tucker. Moving on to Boston, great spot here going up against Chicago. I think Tatum is a really good spend up tomorrow. I think if no one's going to play him, I think he's a really good GPP spend up if you think they can keep this game somewhat competitive. So definitely liking Tatum. I think Brown's fine. I really like Porzingis, assuming he plays and he's not on any type of limit. Phenomenal spot here. Great point per minute. Would expect around 30 minutes. The price point does seem a bit too cheap. So keep an eye there if he's not limited. Derek White's in a really good spot as well. Chicago, they're bad against, 3-point shooting, etc. So he's in a prime spot to nuke the slate. I would say he's more priced right though, but still have some interest at low ownership tomorrow. And Drew's too cheap at 5.3K. Let's move right along to Brooklyn. So I would not expect Cam Thomas to play tomorrow. Looks like he is not cleared for contact yet, so I'd be pretty shocked if he played. So Watford is also out. You should get more minutes for a guy like Jalen Wilson and Nick Claxton. They should get a bump. I think the price point on Clax is a bit too cheap. I really like him at that price point. Probably going to be one of the more popular center plays on the slate. Cam Johnson in a phenomenal spot. I think he looks great. Ben Simmons should have to play more with all these guys out. Got 30 minutes but came in due to the blowout last game after a couple guys got hurt. But I would expect high 20s minutes here for Ben. I like him quite a bit. And like I said, with Watford out, you might see a bit more like Jalen Wilson. He's in play. Keon Johnson should have to play more. I think he's a fine value. So there's definitely a lot to like here on this Brooklyn team tomorrow. Let's move on to Toronto. Scotty Barnes could be back here. That would hurt basically everyone. I'd be annoyed with this team probably not wanting to play much of them. So yeah, keep an eye on that. But if we get Scotty out, you guys know the drill. RJ Barrett probably going to be in my lineup tomorrow if we get no Scotty Barnes. Just a roll. He's starting at the point. Great rebounder. Had a triple-double this game. Definitely an outlier, but he does have that type of upside. Going to play massive minutes in competitive games. Just the role at the point is just so good for RJ Barrett. So I would love him tomorrow. Grady Dick, I would really like if Scotty Barnes is out. I played him last slate. Just going to play big minutes and chuck the ball. Gets a huge usage bump. Good spot up against Brooklyn as well. I'm not too excited about the values. I think we can find better values on this slate, but Mogba would be fine. But he's priced up. It's pretty disgusting. And yeah, if Scotty's in, I would love Scotty if we get him on no limit. RJ would be overpriced, and then the secondary plays would be priced right. Moving on to the Warriors. So does Dennis Schroeder start tomorrow? I don't think so. I would assume he just comes off the bench. If any of you guys saw anything, let me know. But I would assume he comes off the bench, which makes him unplayable. Kuminga at 6.2K. Listen, they have another body in the rotation now. So we could see Steve Kerr do Steve Kerr things and run like 13 guys here. But if we get like our normal 30 minutes up against Memphis, definitely liking some Kuminga. Wiggins number 2 on offense. I think he's fine at 6.6K. Really taking a step forward this year. I like Steph in GPPs, and then Kevon Looney is playable. Not loving too much else here. Buddy Hield's priced right to me. Although he'll probably project for like, I don't know, around 5x. Fine. Yeah, I'm not going to play Dennis Schroeder off of the bench. We've got to Memphis. Bad spot here going up against the Warriors, but we could see a lineup change tomorrow. If we see like Zach Edey start at 4.3K, he would instantly shoot up to probably one of my more favorite values on the board. He started the second half last game. We also saw Marcus Smart start the second half. So if we get like Smart and Eddie starting, I really like Marcus Smart if he comes off the bench or starts tomorrow. I think we're gonna get mid-20s minutes regardless at 4.1K. And I kind of like Desmond Bane in GPPs. It's a really good spot for him. Golden State's really bad against catch and shoot threes. That's what Desmond Bane is going. That's like prototype Desmond Bane. Like he is going to chuck. So it's a really, really good spot here for Desmond Bane. I think he's kind of sneaky tomorrow in GPPs. And then, yeah, Ja's fine. Not loving Jaren Jackson Jr. too much. Alrighty, guys, moving on to Atlanta. Yeah, 9.4K Trae Young. It looks like he's fully back. I mean, I would expect mid-30s minutes here. Stat sheet stuffer. Fine spot going up against the Spurs. Looks like he's back. If he's back to where he was, like not injured anymore, he is too cheap. And then, yeah, sound like a broken record here. I think Jalen Johnson's always a great play in GPPs no matter who he's playing. Just the minutes, the role is elite right now. Dyson not going to play. DeAndre Hunter, I think, is priced right. Capella, Conwood will split the center minutes. I think both are fine. I think I'd rather play Nick Claxton at a similar price point. And then Bogey is just a large field play for me at 4.6K, but the ceiling is there. Moving on to the Spurs. Wemby, I love tomorrow. Love. One of my more favorite spin-ups up on the board. I love him tomorrow. Great spot going up against Atlanta. Probably going to get you a double-double. Legit has triple-double upside with blocks. I mean, yeah, I love Wemby tomorrow in GPPs. I don't mind Sochan. His role's been really good, too. Playing around 30 minutes a game. He's taking a huge step forward this year. Chris Paul is fine at 6.3K. Production been a bit up and down, but super, super safe. And then keep an eye on the Keldon Johnson news. We do have Castle back, which kind of hurts, like Champagny, Harrison Barnes. I think my favorite of the values would be Devin Vassell, who should play 25 to 30 minutes. Great point per minute guy. I also think there's a small chance that he could start tomorrow, so keep an eye on that. Moving on to the Pels, meh spot here going up against Houston, but Zion, Brandon Ingram are going to continue to be out. Could have Alvarado and Hawkins back. I would suspect not. So, yeah, DeJounte Murray with those two out is still far too cheap. He looks great. Really high on DeJounte. I think CJ is fine. Trey Murphy has a ceiling at 6.7K. Pretty bad spot for him, though. Missy's playable, but prefer Nick Claxton. Herb Jones, no thank you. And then if everyone remains out, sure, you can consider like a Brandon Boston. I like a lot on Houston tomorrow. If Fred VanVleet's out, I would assume they just slide Jalen Green to the point and slide Amen Thompson into the starting lineup. If that's the case, Amen Thompson would look phenomenal. I would really like Jalen Green. I would really like Alfred Sengun. Jabari Smith I would like quite a bit. Tari Eason I think is a decent value. You might get dusted off some Aaron Holiday potentially. There would be a ton to like here if Fred's out. Even if Fred is in, I like quite a bit here. Second at 88, I really like Fred VanVleet at 7K would be a good play. Jalen Green, I like his ceiling in GPPs. Still think Amen's perfectly fine, like him. Jabari Smith, I really like at 5.4. Tari Eason's a decent value. Dylan Brooks is fine. So there's definitely a lot to like on Houston tomorrow. Let's move on to the Clippers. Harden's fine. I think I prefer, let's look at the price points. I think I prefer Cade to a Harden. I think I prefer like getting up to like a Jason Tatum or a Wemby or even like a Luka. But yeah, of course, firmly in play, of course. But I think there are other spin-ups I'd rather play. Zubac in a good spot going up against like Gafford Lively. Could see a massive game here. I still think he's a little bit too cheap, so I don't mind him. Kevin Porter Jr. I hate tomorrow. I nuked his unders. Dunn's dealing with an illness, so I'd be a little bit careful there. And then Amir Coffey started last game. Not a good point per minute guy, but if he starts again, you can go there. Moving on to Dallas. Keep an eye on the injury report. We could have one of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving out. We could have both out. Luka didn't practice. Looks like Kyrie practiced, so I would assume Kyrie plays. Potentially Luka doesn't. Now, if Luka's out, Kyrie looks great. Would be a nuke. Everyone else would look fantastic here. Najee Marshall at 5'3" could be back as well. He could be a potential play. Jaden Hardy, Quentin Grimes, etc. We also could have Hardy out. Just keep an eye on it. We could have some really good plays here. If everyone's in, like Luka, of course, I think Lively's okay. There wouldn't be too much here if everyone's in. Moving on to the Pacers. So, fine spot here going up against Phoenix. I think Halliburton's still a little bit too cheap. Like, is Halliburton back? Like him, Trae Young, Spider-Man, is he back? Is Jalen Duren? Are we back, guys? The season started. Are you guys back? So yeah, gonna play mid 30s minutes. No issue with it. I think the price point's too cheap. I think he'll be popular. I think he's a really good play. I think Siakam's fine at 8.79, but I would just prefer Halliburton. Mathurin's priced right. Same with Miles Turner. Obi Toppin has just turned into Jesus Christ this season. I will not be playing that. I'll let people keep chasing. Nemhard, meh. Beal practice, so I expect him to go. When everyone's in, it's like Spider-Man GIF, like the same breakdown every time. Booker, Kevin Durant, Beal, when they're all in, they into each other's usage. I never really like playing them, especially in single entries, so I'll probably pass on them. Yusuf Nurkic should play 25 to 30 minutes, just indifferent there. Tyus Jones is now priced right. The value is out of play. Just the same thing every single time, right? Moving on to the Knicks, I mean, how homecoming, if you're into revenge narratives, this could be a big one, but not going to say no to Cat. I think he's amazing. Even at 10.2K, I think he's phenomenal. Love Cat. Brunson 8.3, really bad spot for him. Same with like Josh Hart, OG, McHale. Really bad spot for these guys. If I had to pick a favorite, probably be McHale at 6K. Bad spot for Minnesota as well, so I'm not loving too much here. I think like Ant's fine. Randall, Gobert should play huge minutes. Fine. Mike Conley should play around 30 minutes. It's okay. Jaden McDaniels isn't going to continue to average 50 blocks and steals, so I'll pass there. So, not loving too much in this game, although it's going to be a really fun game to watch. I'm definitely going to watch this game. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for the slate. Hopefully, you guys had a great break, and as always, I will talk to you all on Reddit.